You know, contrary to whatever it is you may have heard, Fight Club is actually a story about loneliness and the crazy lengths a man will go just to circumvent that loneliness. In his attempts to find companionship, he ends up creating an alternate personality called Tyler Durden just so he can fuck the girl he likes. The protagonist of this movie has no real name, so we'll just call him the narrator. His dad abandoned him when he was a child, so that fucked him up pretty significantly. The movie starts with him battling insomnia, which is affecting his ability to perform adequately at his 9-to-5 job. He meets Marla after he has found a number of support groups where he could let himself be vulnerable enough to walk through his trauma and cry as he opens up about his childhood abandonment issues. At the end of every meeting, he goes home and falls asleep like a baby. So, this is definitely helping with his insomnia. He starts to feel pretty comfortable because the people in those groups actually believe he's suffering from the same things they are dealing with, so they genuinely give him a listening ear. But then Marla starts going to all the support groups he goes to, and now he can't cry anymore. So, he tries to get her to stop showing up. He says if there's another faker in the room, he would feel bad about lying to all these people and therefore be unable to cry. But that's just a bunch of bullshit. The real reason he couldn't cry anymore was because he felt self-conscious about being emotional and potentially less attractive around the girl that he was attracted to. Which is very relatable because when an attractive girl enters my immediate vicinity, I instinctually get this internal urge to spread my legs in an attempt to open up my body language, straighten my back to showcase how tall I am, hold eye contact to immediately grab her attention, slow down my speech while I lower the pitch of my voice as I talk to her, and a bunch of other really weird stuff. These are all things that I do in an attempt to present the most masculine and therefore most attractive version of myself to increase the probability of this strange girl developing a specific type of interest in me. But I'm still single as fuck, so that should tell you how well that's been going for me. I say all this to explain that chasing her away from his emotional safe space where he knew he could be truly vulnerable and potentially less masculine was his own subtle way of trying to remain as attractive to her as possible. We know he was very clearly attracted to her because of how nervous he got when she came in for a hug in the middle of his confrontation, and the way he would just start casually fantasizing about her in the middle of the meetings. Then right after they distributed the support groups equally amongst themselves and had concluded their business, he made up an excuse to get her number. And if you notice, throughout the time he was confronting and negotiating with her, that nigga could speak as eloquently as the queen herself. But when the moment came to collect her number, bro starts stammering and fidgeting out of nowhere like a nervous little kid trying to talk to the girl he likes in class. He goes on a few business trips and forgets all about her. Then when he gets back and his apartment gets blown up, she's the first person he thinks of. He calls her and almost asks if he could sleep on her couch for a while, but he doesn't go through with it because, remember, bro's trying to make sure she perceives him as desirable as possible at all times. So, running to her when he's at a low point in his life with no place to rest his head isn't exactly the most attractive thing he could do. Instead, he goes off to start his journey of becoming someone else, and by the next time she pops into his life, he has fully immersed himself into the Tyler Durden personality. You know that phrase, fake it till you make it, right? That thing where you see certain qualities and traits in a person you respect, then attempt to replicate those same attributes in yourself, but because you don't really know about or possess the intrinsic values that led to those external qualities that you admire so much, you just end up pretending to be that which you are not. Then somewhere along the line, as you grow and learn and gain new experiences, you get to the point where you eventually stop pretending and just become the authentic embodiment of those respectable qualities. Yeah, the narrator saw that shit and took it to the next fucking level. As a result of him growing up with no real masculine presence in his life and having nobody to turn to by the time he was an adult, he created an alternate persona for himself. A persona that embodied all the masculine qualities he liked so much, but never had a dad to imbue him with all the fundamental intrinsic values that would then lead to the external manifestation of those masculine qualities. On top of creating this persona for himself, he took it a step further and fully dissociated himself from reality, imagining that new persona as an entirely different individual, a separate entity from himself that he can now be friends with, thereby killing two birds with one stone. He fixes the trauma his dad caused him by becoming the ultimate masculine version of himself and cured his loneliness by giving himself an imaginary best friend. But if we take our analysis a step further, we'll see the deeper reason why he chose to separate the two personalities. Even though he has created a new and superior persona in his mind, deep down in his subconscious, he still doesn't believe that he's cool enough to actually become that type of person. So, his imposter syndrome kicks in and he manages to trick his brain into believing that the old uncool version of himself and his new ultra masculine and desirable persona are two completely different individuals. Even when he became the person he always wanted to be, he still thought so little of himself that he refused to believe that he could be anything more than the weak, spineless loser that he is. If you pay attention during the first 20 minutes of the film, you'll see the narrator slowly building up his new identity, as evident by these blink and you miss it, one frame at a time appearances from Tyler, scattered seemingly at random points in the movie. Then by the time he had to go on several back-to-back business trips, which prevented him from attending his support group meetings, cutting him off from his daily dose of cathartic release, and leading to him fantasizing about the sweet relief of death, he finally snaps and finalizes schematics on his fully functioning, philosophically inclined, anatomically superior, self-automated cult leader persona / best friend. At this point, he has gone completely crazy and fully immersed himself into his new reality. So, he blows up his fucking apartment and goes to live in an abandoned mansion with his imaginary best friend, who helps him form a new support group that turns into a club, that turns into a cult, which then turns into a terrorist movement for some fucking reason. Mara starts missing him because she's not seeing him at all the support groups interest anymore, so she reaches out to him and he passionately makes love towards his new personality while actively choosing to cock his loser version of himself, making his original persona watch and listen as they make love all night because that's what he believed the old version of him would do. Just stands there and watches as his friend fucks the girl he likes all day and night, which says a lot more about his self-perception than you and I would like to explore. Then because his new persona is supposed to be the stereotypical fuckboy that's emotionally unavailable and has nothing substantial to offer women besides good dick of course, he pushes her away and prevents the original persona from developing an intimate romantic relationship with her, even though he's very clearly deeply in love with her. As the movie goes on, he finds out that him and Tyler are actually the same person, so he's been the one fucking Marla the way she likes, and Tyler is actually some fucking crazy cult leader that wants to blow up half the city for some fucking reason. But he's too late to stop all his plans, so he shoots himself in the head to kill his imaginary best friend and he watches the explosion with his girl. Well, at least bro got the girl at the end. Hopefully he can go on and actually find a real friend. This was a fucking weird ass movie, bro. Go ask your guy friend how he's doing today because men really do be lonely out here. And who knows, you might just save him from the horrors of having to create a fucking imaginary friend that makes him fucking watch while he drops heavenly back shots on the girl that he likes. Whew. Anyway, subscribe to the Patreon for the weekly podcast episodes controlled by the Patreon members and the monthly to bi-monthly to quarter-monthly commentary episodes. All the details will be in the Patreon page, link in the description. And yeah, that's about it. Subscribe to the Patreon, link in the description. Go check on your male friends, make sure they are doing okay. I'll see you guys in the next analysis. Well, that was fun. Alright, later niggas.